Hey everybody, welcome to the Fractured Focus reaction to the new Spider-Man Homecoming trailer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben Gordon, and coming in live from the great state of Nebraska, Mr. Matt Swinehart himself. Matt, you ready to talk some Spider-Man?
I am. My spider sense is tingling.
Marvel's been killing it with all their movies for the longest time. Before Spider-Man came into the universe during Civil War, everybody was talking about how cool it'd be to bring in other properties from other studios that had licenses that Marvel Studios couldn't use, including Spider-Man. Most people all over the internet said, here's all the reasons it can't happen because of legal issues. Sony has the rights, yada, yada, yada. Surprise, surprise, the fans got what they wanted. Spider-Man came to Civil War, and it was freaking awesome. I mean, that's probably the favorite aspect of Civil War for a lot of people was Spider-Man's inclusion. Now we're getting our own standalone Spider-Man movie. Sony is producing the movie, was paying for the movie, but Marvel Studios' conjunction with them, it looks like Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios' creative team is the one that is deciding how the movie, how the story's going, everything like that. So we're still getting the Marvel Studios magic into a Sony-produced movie. What'd you think of the trailer?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was great. I'm ready to see it now.
We almost didn't need the trailer, right? I mean, this is another movie we're going to see, but we get hyped for stuff like this too. But what'd you like about the trailer?
I loved it. I mean, I know that when we initially talked about the first trailer when it came out, I thought that the Iron Man shots were just kind of, glamour shots, just things to kind of put in the trailer to make people want to see it.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's a lot more involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And it's almost in the trailer, it almost looks like it's a de-evolution of Spider-Man because him coming in Civil War, he already has so much. So you might get a little bit of the reinvention of Spider-Man through the movie, it looks like, and watching the trailer. That looks great.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. After a third now Spider-Man, what do you want to call it, incarnation, this is the second reboot, where it doesn't feel like Sam Raimi's movies were that long ago, but we already got the Amazing Spider-Man, which was it wasn't panned, it was I think universally for the most part, it was good, it just wasn't great. Andrew Garfield, We've talked about that before, kind of just came in at the wrong time right before the Marvel-Sony crossover, and I think the only way to have Tom Holland in these movies was to do a reset like the way that they did. But I was almost kind of wondering, okay, now that Marvel Studios is going to sprinkle their magic on it, we're all excited. But man, another reinvention of Spider-Man. Are they going to do the origin story all over again? Do we even need that? How are they going to make this fresh and different? And when you brought up the fact that it's a de-evolution, when you can kind of see from the first trailer, it looked like when they showed that the ship that was breaking apart and him like holding it together with all the webbings. Yeah. My first assumption was, it looks like they're showing the climax of the movie. God damn it. I hate it when they give away the big stuff. From this trailer, we can clearly tell, no, that's not the case. That's something that's setting up Tom Holland's arc as Peter Parker in this movie. I mean, he's clearly playing the role of, he is a high school kid, so I think everything Tony is saying and being protective of him is completely justified. But watching that's something where he makes a mistake and puts a lot of people in jeopardy and actually has his suit taken back by Tony Stark, so he actually has to resort to the old suit that he was using, I guess as you want to call it, him getting his start out on the streets. I think it's a fantastic fresh take because I really didn't want them to rehash again his uncle dying, getting into the wrestling, why does he have the suit in the first place? So that was a completely fresh take that, again, should we even be surprised at this point? Again, Marvel just can't seem to lose. They have really creative people.
Yeah, no, it looks like they're killing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be interesting, and I think they'll tie some of the origin in there because one of the short clips in this trailer is him and his friend are working on something. And I think those are like new web slingers. So I think he kind of sees what the suit can be from what Tony made. And it'll be interesting to see at the end if he actually goes back to Tony's suit or if he actually has his own that he's come up with.
Do you think he could make something that could outdo what Stark could make for him, though?
Maybe not necessarily to the technology level, but
maybe just an
his
adaptation.
Powers.
Right.
Yeah, it's his powers. I mean, it's him that has to live in the suit.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be nice to kind of see what Tony has and those technology that he has, but then bringing his own and adding to it, because one of the things in the comics is that he is a brilliant mind as well.
Right.
So, I mean, don't just throw that out like he's just some kid and doesn't know anything. I know in Civil War they kind of touched on it where he gets computers out of the trash and makes them work again and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But actually showing some of that technical aptitude and intelligence that Spider-Man has will be
And
great.
it's also kind of weird to see Aunt May is hot. You know, Marissa Tomei still looks good in this.
Yeah.
I had to throw that in there because I noticed that. I'm like, man, this is a much different take on. And again, I like that they're doing this fresh, different stuff. It's not like you have to run out of ideas when you iterate so many times with Spider-Man, and clearly they're not with this. One of the things I was curious about, I guess I should say, is when we found out they were going to introduce Spider-Man into the MCU. You keep thinking, how do you? It's almost harder, I think, to have a new superheroes in this universe origin story when you already have this existing world of all these heroes. Because if Spider-Man was going to go up against the normal foes that he would have, even in the Sam Raimi's movies, having an existing Marvel Cinematic Universe already in place, especially in New York where the Avengers Tower is, it immediately begs the question, why is some kid dealing with this? Why aren't these godlike superheroes taking care of this ridiculously powered villain that looks like he's got wings and jets and is blowing stuff up? And they rarely, found a way to do that seems plausible. You know, I mean, even when you've got Tony Stark saying that there's people that take care of stuff like this. And obviously this is a coming of age. He's got to prove himself, that kind of thing. But I think that, I think Tony Stark makes a lot of good arguments. Like, there's people that take care of this stuff. You're a kid, be a kid, and there's plenty of future for you to become an Avenger and, be the Spider-Man and do everything that you need to do with the group when you get old enough too. So I love what they did with this trailer. I'm super pumped for this.
Yeah. It looks great. I mean, it looks like that relationship that Tony's taking, it's not that he's shoving him out of it, but like in that line where he says, I want you to be better than me.
Yeah.
Meaning he doesn't want him to make those mistakes that Tony's already made. So
was there another comic book villain in there that I wasn't familiar with? Or like it looked like at one point there was a villain that had some kind of gauntlet that like punched Superman really hard. Is there more than just the Vulture that supposed to be in this movie?
So it's rumored that the Shocker was going to be in it.
Okay.
And so that guy that's got the glove, when he hits him and he goes through the bus or whatever, I think that is when he meets the Shocker.
Okay.
So
looks cool to see. I think
one of my favorite villain names.
The Shocker. I wondered if we were going to tiptoe around that, or if our just innate immaturity was going to come out in this video. And I think that our audience members already know that was just bound to happen regardless.
It was bound to happen.
Tom
What was
Holland.
your nickname in college?
Right.
No, I'm just joking.
Jeez. Tom Holland looks like such a great Spider-Man and Peter Parker, though, in this. I loved what Tobey Maguire did. I thought he was a little too quiet, a little bit slower, mopey. He would throw off some of the Spider-Man quips when he was fighting villains and stuff, but it just felt a little bit forced. Andrew Garfield was a little bit more
Cocky.
Cocky. That's a good way to put it. Skaterboard, punk type of kid, sarcastic, which I thought was cool. I thought that was a cool new take that was closer to the Spider-Man that I like. This feels like a perfect mesh of them.
It's nailed it.
Yeah, he's fun. I can't stop thinking about all those scenes in Civil War where he's talking through the whole thing. Like, you've got a metal arm? That is so cool. Man, that shield does not obey the laws of physics. And even when they call him out on it, most fighting doesn't involve this much talking, kid. That's so cool to see the traditional Spider-Man tropes come out there. But I'm more pumped for this Tom Holland as Spider-Man than anyone we've had thus far. No disrespect to, the other people that we've had before. But how do you feel about him overall?
Oh, I think it's a great cast. And the writing is right there, because the thing about Spider-Man comics is that banter.
Yeah.
Even if it's one-sided at times because he's the only one talking, it's that smart alecky thing.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that they're bringing it into the character again.
I think it comes off a lot better than it did when, again, Tobey Maguire would do that from time to time, but it never felt natural. It always felt like...
We'll let you know he's a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a 17, 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, wasn't Tobey Maguire 24 when he played that role?
He might have been in his 30s. Who knows? But, no, it's just Tom Holland, or at least the character that they made for him, has that banter. I mean, you can tell that apart from being a superhero and wanting that responsibility, this is something he really likes.
Yeah.
Something he really enjoys. And that comes across by just his level of excitement about everything.
Also just came out in the news. We were talking about that on the show last week, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, about the Sony doing their own Venom movie franchise that's going to have its own universe. More details came out about that. First of all, it's not going to be included in the MCU. We kind of talked about reasons of, why wouldn't they do it, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it. If it's going to be Sony exclusively with no Marvel Studios creative control, which how would they do it? With their existing situation, you can't say, okay, Marvel, now make all these movies too for us and we'll take the money from them. That makes total sense. And that it's going to be a more mature, maybe R-rated tone and have its own, I don't know, maybe like the Sinister Six, maybe they'll tie that into it. That's really cool. But having that be a separate universe, it'll be interesting to see how these, because obviously they're going to do more Spider-Man standalone movies that are still in the MCU after this one. There's no way in hell that's not going to happen.
They're going to have to.
Yeah.
At this point, they should already be in pre-production.
Uh-huh.
Because this movie is going to set box office records.
Probably. I mean, wasn't Spider-Man just like a juggernaut when it came out? I think Spider-Man 2 is still rated as one of the best superhero movies of all time. Sam Raimi's.
The first and second one set box office records.
Right.
I mean, Avatar and Pirates of the Caribbean dethroned them, but at the time, Spider-Man was.
That's before the proliferation of superhero movies being all over the place right now.
Oh yeah.
We've talked numerous times on the show too about possible superhero saturation, but man, Marvel keeps cranking out stuff that I'm pumped to see, and I know DC's doing their thing too, and we've got different views like most people do about how they haven't hit it as well out of the park as Marvel has, but Marvel continues to impress. I mean, we've got Spider-Man Homecoming coming out. Thor Ragnarok, I guess, is supposed to be a huge deal. And then I think after those two, it jumps right into Avengers Infinity War, doesn't it? Maybe there's Black Panther in there. I can't remember
if it's Black Panther and then Infinity Wars. But no, yeah, I mean, you're right. Thor Ragnarok is going to set the ground for Infinity Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So Guardians of the Galaxy comes out next month.
That's right.
But I like how they're spacing it out. Guardians is going to have its full month of run, or actually, no, it'll have a full month of run, 2 months of run. Then Homecoming comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to get Thor Ragnarok in.
Well,
I don't think it's August, but yeah.
Well, this is exciting to see. Well, the reason I was even bringing those up is more and more we're seeing these superhero movies. It's getting more difficult. Not that I don't think that we won't see that in the future. I think Black Panther might have more of its own setting that might be easier to do in Wakanda, kind of isolated. But even in Thor Ragnarok, more and more of these Marvel movies we're seeing aren't just the main title character. They're incorporating other MCUs, not just as cameos or Easter eggs, but as part of the driving story. I mean, we got Tony Stark here in Spider-Man that looks like he's a big part of the story. We've got Doctor Strange and the Hulk are going to be in Thor Ragnarok. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that it's keeping it fresh. Yeah. Thor 2, I guess, did a good job of kind of still being standalone, but I think at this point, after everything that's happened, especially Civil War, it's kind of hard to backpedal that. Do you think it's possible that we're not going to get... again, we don't know what's going to happen on Black Panther, but a good standalone movie that just by itself anytime soon?
Well, I think Black Panther is going to be an origin story,
mm-hmm.
So it will be its own thing. So it's going to take place in the past and somewhat in the present. I think leading up to Civil War.
Oh, really? It's going back in time?
I think so.
Okay.
Because they need to explore the origins of who the Black Panther is.
Oh, so like
and what vibranium is and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And why they have it, why all that stuff. Which will be a good filler story. When I think about the universe, and since it's expanded, the Marvel universe, the one thing I had about Iron Man 3 was that they tried to make it a standalone movie. There was no other heroes other than War Machine in there.
Yeah. I liked Iron Man 3. I get people's different viewpoints on it too, but I think that now don't get me wrong, it was a throwaway one line that they did in the movie, but they did explain that when he's talking to Rhodey right before he has his first panic attack, and they're sitting there, and he's talking about how you got all these adventures with, and I'm paraphrasing, with your super friends and all that kind of stuff, but the Mandarin and having this be a political type of thing is not a world problem for the Avengers. It's a United States government kind of problem. I mean, when he says no, I think Tony says something along the lines of, right, it's an us problem, not a worldwide superhero problem. And Rhodey says, yeah, it's really not. It's like our issue. And I think that was kind of their trying to get reasoning out there why you had no other superheroes involved other than
why Shield. Why even Shield wasn't involved?
Wasn't Shield disbanded at that point though? Because that
I don't know. Did that come?
Iron Man
did that come before or after Winter Soldier? I thought it was before.
Well, I don't know. I mean, our audience could look. You're right. If it was,
Oh.
well, even if it was, you're right. If it was before, then Shield should have been there. So I guess my point weighs on the
At
fact
least
that
some component of Shield should have been there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. I don't have a good excuse for that. I liked Iron Man 3. I thought it was cool. I loved watching all the Iron Mans come together at the very end. I didn't get why he exploded them all, but I guess they kind of explained that even in Civil War when Tony was talking about how, well, I needed to kind of separate from my obsession that was for Pepper, and that clearly
Fresh
didn't work.
start,
Look at Age of Ultron, stuff like that too. But, well, dude,
Plus, he couldn't have all those other Iron Man and all the other movies.
Well,
you're going to have 40 plus Iron Men in other movies.
Well, isn't that just, didn't they say that the reason he was doing that is because he was so obsessed and scared after Avengers because of the alien threat that he was just down there tinkering all the time, building more Iron Mans.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Regardless, we should probably come back to Spider-Man. I'm pumped to see this. Is there anything that you saw that didn't really hit you the right way from the trailer?
Nothing.
I mean, I can't think
Nothing.
of any.
I mean, this is like out of the park. This is the best possible scenario for a trailer. Michael Keaton looked wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just his lines and the way he was delivering them looked great. I mean, I really think this is the movie that's going to set the new bar.
See, you just screwed us, man. When you just said all that stuff and set it on a pendulum that high, now the movie's going to come out. It's going to be great. It's not going to be expertly awesome, and we're all going to be disappointed. People and fans are going to come all to this channel to complain about you set them up for failure because you set the bar that high.
I'm giving it the 100%
prune juice guarantee.
Yeah. This is the first one, and I'm ready to do it.
You heard it here first, folks. 100% prune juice guaranteed. This movie is going to be, what were your words? Perfect?
No, we're just making it easy. No, I don't have any real criticisms. I mean, it's...
Yeah, I couldn't find an Achilles heel in the trailer. I mean, again, we haven't seen the movie. We're just talking about the trailer, but...
Yeah. Maybe it'll be too much. You know, maybe looking back at it, there won't be any surprises left in the movie, and the trailer will have wrecked that for us. But what I don't want to see, I don't want to see any more trailers.
I think this will be the last one.
Yeah, I don't want to see another trailer. Don't really need to see another featurette.
Right.
I mean, let's leave it at this.
You know what?
This is your crescendo.
We've talked about that on the show too before, the saturation that studios can put out to get us intrigued with their movie a year in advance and just bombard us with featurettes, more commercials, more trailers. I think one of the most predominant ones was Avengers Age of Ultron. It felt like every week there was another. Felt like you'd almost seen the movie before it got to theaters. Then Star Wars Episode 7 comes out, where they were super secretive about, and almost nothing came out. And I'm like, great, more people do that. There's been some hits or miss with some of the movies coming out with saturating you with too much stuff. But so far, you know what? Since we did that episode, and that was months ago, I can't think of a movie where we've had so much shoved down our throat where I was like, you've told me enough. I'm going to see the movie. I want to be surprised. I don't need to see anymore. So I almost wonder if that pendulum is swinging back because they're realizing overclogging the market with this stuff isn't helping the movie. And it's costing more in marketing you don't need to spend.
It'll happen again.
Mm-hmm.
The closer we get to Justice League, the more they're going to be out there pushing content because they want that huge opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And you can almost tell when you see all of that stuff out there that that's what the studio's going for, is they want that huge opening weekend because they know once people see it and they start talking to other people that it's going to start to trend down.
Yeah.
So you want to capture that huge market share at the beginning.
And I have no problem with the ramp up.
Fast and the Furious will probably be that way.
Dude, I'm pumped for that movie. I still I don't buy the premise of the story. I hope that it's better than the trailers are leading on to. We talked about that a couple times, and this is a Spider-Man topic. for your benefit, audience, I'm going to go ahead and rescind back my Fate.
Rein it
Furious.
in.
Yeah.
Rein it in.
No, I completely agree with you. Leading up to a movie, the weeks leading up to it, completely understand there's going to be a marketing extravaganza, especially about a big franchise or a big property, whether it be Avengers or Spider-Man, and those are basically two of the biggest. I just don't like it when it's 6 months, a year and a half out, and you're constantly getting behind the scenes. Here's some more pictures of this. Here's what's going on here. Here's another featurette. Here's another making. Like, oh my God, shut up and let me be surprised when I see the movie. There's a math to this, and I think you're going way too far on the other side. But I agree with you. I can't find any Achilles heel in this trailer. I don't know if I would go as far as you would, as far as saying this is the perfect trailer, because that, in my opinion, is reserved exclusively for the Force Awakens trailer. I don't think anything's going to beat how perfect that trailer was, and it affected everybody the same way universally. Do you see all the reactions to that on YouTube where people were crying when that romance love theme hit, when the Millennium Falcon goes into the desert on Jakku? I mean, this was good, but it wasn't.
It was
that
pretty
good.
powerful.
Yeah,
but you also got to realize that trailer was 30 years in the making.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, because and not only had that trailer been 30 years in the making, halfway between there, everybody's hopes had just gotten dashed and beat down. So, yeah, this was like the second coming for people with The Force Awakenings. But I guess, do you have any expectations for Spider-Man? What do you want to see?
A fresh take.
You tend to ask the question.
Yeah. But... No, that's fine. A fresh take. Some of the tropes that we love about I mean, I know that these are very broad and they're not too vague, but they're very broad. The strokes of Spider-Man that people always like are his quips. I'd like a new take on Peter Parker. Looks like we really have it. It's finally great to have a Peter Parker that talks with a New York accent for the first time. And as
Even
much
though
as
he's British.
Yeah, that's right. But as much as, again, this is the third iteration of Spider-Man. It looks like they're putting a new spin on it, and we're getting the Marvel magic. That I think one of the big reasons that we're so excited to see this isn't just because the trailers have been great so far, but because Marvel hasn't let us down yet. And with a big property like this, I would be really surprised if they did. It's kind of like the opposite of the Justice League trailer reaction we did a few days ago. We're going to go see it. We hope it's great. Our expectations are low based on what we've seen so far. This is the complete opposite. Our expectations are high because Marvel has, in a manner of speaking, for most of the movies, killed it. We've loved everything that they've done. This looks like a new take. It looks believable. It fits in the universe. Everything that I would want, it looks like they're doing. We'll see when it gets to the theater. So I'm pumped for it. I can't find an Achilles heel in it thus far, but we'll have to wait until we see the movie.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see it.
Cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think of the new trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming. Is this, like Matt said, the perfect trailer? I mean, to me, that sounds like you're setting that bar so high. But
it's the perfect Spider-Man trailer for sure.
Well, there you go. And remember, Matt is giving you his fractured focus 100% prune juice guarantee that this movie will kill. Remember that. It's a pretty easy bet to make because this movie is going to. But if it's not, you know who to target. You can see his Twitter handle.
I guess my one concern at this point, I know that Marvel has kind of control over some of this stuff. My concern is that all of a sudden Sony's like, oh, we're starting to, trend in the positive. So then they just start pushing stuff out. Oh, here's this Spider-Man thing, and here's this Spider-Man thing. And I know there's a spoiler in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. When the toys are released, we're going to find out what that is.
There's no real way around
because that seems
though.
to be the trend anymore.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, honestly, the trailer has enough questions. What's that spider thing on his chest that comes out? Is that going to get Tony? Or does he actually know that's happening? Because he kind of seems surprised by it, right?
See, I don't want to know. Yeah, I don't want to know stuff like that. I want to see.
Yeah, I don't want to know stuff like that either. Uh-huh. But there's enough of those questions in there where it really makes it good. And the thing is I watched the first trailer and the second trailer congruently on YouTube, and they kind of fill in a lot of area when you look at them together. Mm-hmm. Because I remember watching the first one, and he's holding the ship together, and behind him you can see the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
Well, then from this trailer you find out Tony comes in, puts the ship together, and then apparently that's probably the end of the second act. Because the way Marvel does it is they break everything in three parts. There'll be a first part where it kind of builds up into this first crescendo or first meeting with the villain. Mm-hmm. And then there's that part where there's a lull where it's kind of developing plot points and adding some levity to the movie, which will probably be, that's probably the end of the first. And then you're going to see that middle part where Spider-Man's rediscovering who he is. And then you're going to see the end part where it's just the constant action and the finale of him against the Vulture and against the Shocker.
You just gave me the whole thing. Yeah. Spoilers, ladies and gentlemen. Matt has just described the entire movie.
Yeah. If you don't want to see the movie now, you can just send me your $15 and we'll call it even. And I may give some residuals to Sony and Marvel
at your discretion.
But it kind of feels like my idea at this point.
I think everybody knows that's probably going to be the arc of the movie. I mean, that's basically the arc that the trailer set up. And I loved Tony's line, like, if you're not good enough without the suit, then you don't deserve to wear the suit. That was perfect. Great, yeah. Because if they keep going back into, and I'm sure they'll throw it in as a cameo, you kind of have to as Spider-Man, but the traditional, with great power comes great responsibility. That's a harder line to throw out with a serious face today because all these other Marvel superhero movies have already happened. So to throw that out there like that's a new thing, I don't think would have been as easily taken in by the audience. And again, I'm sure they'll throw it in some way, shape, or form, but that line from Tony Stark sets up kind of like the morality tale of this movie, and I think that it is much more fitting for this kind of movie. So again, it's hitting all my notes, and this is exactly the way I would expect Marvel to do.
Great taglines in the movie, or in the trailer too.
Yep. Well, you got anything else?
So, yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Excited to see it.
Everybody, make sure when this movie comes out, you come right back here to watch the reaction because we will tell you how accurate Matt's 100% prune juice guarantee was, which we all know it probably is going to. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget, you can watch regular episodes of Fractured Focus where we discuss everything from geek culture to nerd news and post the topic of the show each day of the week, Monday through Thursday, right here in the Fractured Focus channel. So with that being said, until next time.